Hey, what's happening? Chris Martinez here. I am the host of Operation Agency Freedom. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how you can get through to a very stubborn manager. So, we employ people to be leaders in our company. And some of the times, they're a little bit stubborn. They don't always agree with everything that we tell them to do. They've got opinions, right? And in many ways, we want them to have those opinions. We want them to come up with ideas and to be passionate about things that they think that are going to work. But also there are some times where we have the answer. And so we need them to kind of recognize that, hey, maybe your way isn't actually the best way because I got 20 years of experience, right? And you should listen to what I'm saying. So if you have any team members on your team and any of those folks can be a little bit stubborn, right? And you're having a hard time getting through to them, and you want to discover a way that I've learned that you can get these people on your side and where they are aligned with the answers that you know to be true, this is absolutely going to be the best episode for you. So very excited to talk about that today. So let's head on over to the interview. Let's do it. All right. So I came up with this idea for this podcast episode because we've been getting a lot of these questions about, how do we deal with these managers and these leaders that they just don't always do what we say that or they don't always do what we tell them to do, right? And this might resonate with you because if you're an owner, you're most likely a little bit stubborn. You might be a little bit hard-headed. That's kind of how we're built. Kind of think that our way is the best way. And so sometimes you end up hiring these folks and they end up getting management positions in your company. And they're fairly similar to you in the sense that they do have opinions, they have ideas about how things are supposed to go. So most of the time, if you tell them what to do, they're not just going to roll over and do it. And I would actually say that you don't want to hire people that are just going to blindly do whatever it is that you tell them to do. Because a lot of the times you're going to be wrong, right? Your answer is going to be wrong. And when you're building on a true leadership team, you want to have people that complement your weaknesses, that cover your blind spots for you. So if you hire just a bunch of yes men or yes women, then you're missing out, right? You need people that are going to push back and that have opinions and have answers and ideas that are different from your own. The challenge with that is that when you start building up these folks on your leadership team and you start giving them more responsibility, is that they're not always going to agree, right? And it can be frustrating as a manager because sometimes we do have the right answers and we do need our leadership team members to basically just say, yep, that's exactly what I need to do. I'm going to execute. So it doesn't always go according to plan. As I was saying, this has come up a few times over the past month with our clients. And so I wanted to just create a podcast episode and kind of give you some of our best practices on how to deal with these folks because we don't want to let them go, right? We don't want them to be super pissed off and where they just quit, but we do also need them to come up with the right answer. And sometimes we don't have the luxury of time or money to let them run their idea, screw up, and then come back and realize, oh, yep, yes, boss, I should have listened to you. So here's a handful of tips that I'm going to give to you on how you do this. Essentially, what you need to do, you need to be there and support this individual, and you need to help them think through the different scenarios of what can happen if they follow through with their wrong idea as opposed to following through with your correct idea. And if you just say, hey, it's my way or the highway, or I know better, or whatever, a lot of the times they're going to push back. And then the other thing is you might kill their ability to want to come to you with answers in the future. So either way, you lose. So you have to be able to ask questions. This is the key. Is you got to be able to ask them questions so that they can start to play through different scenarios in their head and eventually come to the right answer. But the way that you ask those questions is very, very important. One of the things that I've noticed or that I've learned is that if you ask somebody, why did you do this? If you ask them, why did you, or any kind of like why statements for the most part, then it comes off as a personal attack. And what happens if you personally attack somebody? they're going to shut down, right? Or they're going to fight back. Like if you come at me because of my personality, I'm going to push right back. I'm going to push harder. And then nothing's getting accomplished. So you need to be able to ask a question in a way so that we're aligning ourselves on the same side of the table. And it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem. If any of you are in a relationship, you've probably heard of that before. It's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem, right? We're aligned and we're trying to find a solution. One of the things that you could ask is, what was the intention? So like, what was the intention of going down this path? What was your goal? What was your objective? Or what was some of the outcomes that you were considering when you were thinking about this? Okay, cool. So again, we're not saying you're the problem. We're saying like, have you addressed the problem, looking at the problem from this perspective? The other thing I like to ask is, have you considered? Have you considered if, or what would you do if, right? That's another one I like. What would you do if? So let's say that we go with your way. What would you do if this happens, right? How would you handle this if this happens? And you can start playing through different scenarios and then they can give you an answer. A lot of the times they'll start to recognize, ooh, I didn't think about that. Right. And that's actually a great response. Ooh, I didn't think about that. So let's say they give you a scenario, you say, you know what, I like where your head is at. I think that you're going in the right direction. Have you thought about if this happens? How would you handle that? Right. And then be like, ooh, well, I didn't really think about that. So let me go back to the drawing board and figure that out. Okay. That's the type of questioning that I want you to ask. Do not ask, why did you come up with that? Because now it's like, oh, I'm accusing you of being stupid or inferior. And then we're not getting anywhere. Now we're just emotional. You're not going to accomplish anything. Next thing is uh, give them recognition or positive reinforcement before going into the criticism. So we call this like the sandwich method, if you've ever heard of that, where you give them some positive, right? So like, you know what, I love the way that you're managing the team. You've come up with so many great ideas in the past. I think that you're the perfect person to be able to solve this problem, right? So you start giving them some good, then you can dive into the feedback, right? So have you considered about what if this happens? Da, da, da. So then you guys can start having an open conversation. It might sound silly. Some people hate that, but I'm telling you, it works. Like you need to align, get yourselves both on the same side of the table, especially if the person is expecting to be criticized, right? So like if they're already expecting conflict, then they're going to have their guard up. They're not going to be open. And like you need the person to be open to the feedback if you want them to change their mind. Next tip is going to be reviewing the bigger picture. So, talking about the bigger company goals or how solving this problem fits into the bigger objective that we need to accomplish: growing profitability, improving our gross margin, positioning our company for a big sale, hitting that, $5 million sales mark or 1 million or whatever it is, like hitting that financial goal. It's really, really important that you explain to them that the reason why we're having this conversation is because this little piece is very important to the bigger picture. So a lot of the times people can forget there's something bigger going on here, right? It's not just this little issue. This fits into a much bigger plan that we've set in place. So that's the next one. And then after that, it's reviewing their personal goals. So you need to make sure that they understand how this little piece that we're working on also fits into helping them achieve their own personal goals. Maybe it's a financial goal or a promotion or recognition or completing a project, whatever it is. They want to buy a house, a car, whatever. You need to show them also how this little thing that we're working on, that we're trying to work through right now, helps them to accomplish a personal goal. What I do when I'm having these types of conversations is I just keep asking them questions, right? That, have you considered, what would you do if, how would it look if, just continue to ask them scenarios until they eventually come to the conclusion that is the right answer. Never ever raise your voice. Never ever say, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like there's no way that you can know the right answer, because that'll really set you up for failure later on, because you could kill their confidence. We do want to make sure that they have a plan though. So I asked them like, okay, so let's hear about the plan. Like, tell me what you plan on doing here. And then you can go into your questions. Start asking them, like, have you considered? I was having this conversation or kind of like a training with one of our clients earlier, and we were talking about if the churn is too high. So let's just have this role play scenario. Churn is too high. We have a head of account management or a head of customer experience who's responsible for that. And so we want to hear their answer, but they don't have the right answer. So let's say we know that the right answer is they need to start doing a weekly report, and specifically something that we call the red zone list. Red zone list is the list of clients that we've screwed up on. Maybe they have a billing issue, something's not going right, and they have the potential to cancel. So we know that the answer is creating that list and the report, but the manager isn't seeing it that way. So they're telling us, "Oh, you know what? Like, there's no way to manage that. There's nothing that we can do to be able to keep the churn rate down. It's just out of our control." Or maybe they're blaming operations, saying like, "Operations, they keep screwing up and they keep missing deadlines, and the people over there, they can't follow the SOPs. And that's why all the clients are unhappy. It doesn't have anything to do with my department," right? This is an extreme example. Most likely you're not going to have this conversation with your head of account management or your head of customer experience. But just for all intents and purposes, stay with me. So, anyways, your head of is pushing back, kind of giving excuses, pointing the finger at other people. Then you got to start asking them questions. Okay, I hear your point, and I completely understand that sometimes it can feel like there's nothing we can do to stop some of these cancellations. But let me ask you this question. Have you looked at the last 5 clients that have canceled? Have you seen any similarities or patterns in the reasons that they're canceling? Right, and then now the head of account manager is like, "Well, let me think. So the first one they canceled because we didn't deliver on the number of leads that we said that we were gonna do." Okay. Second one canceled because they had a billing issue, right? They just couldn't afford it. Third one canceled also because of leads. Fourth one canceled because we were missing deadlines and not delivering leads. And the fifth one canceled, now that I come to think of it, it was also because of leads, right? And so then you as the manager or the owner, you say, "Oh my gosh." So that kind of seems like there's a pattern there of us not delivering leads, which I know isn't 100% on your list of responsibilities. It comes from ops. But when you list out those 4 clients or 3 clients that canceled because they weren't getting the number of leads, have you thought about things that we could have done differently where we might have been able to recognize that there was a problem prior to there being a problem? And then, of course, the manager's gonna be like, "Well, yeah, now that you think about it, I probably could have done this, and I probably could have done this, and da 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 da." And then me as the owner, I would say, "Well, okay, cool. Like, how are you tracking that now? Do you have your team members telling you about this weekly, or what's the process that you're using to try and manage these issues before they turn into cancellations?" Then, of course, the head of is gonna be like, "Oh, well, I talk to them every week, and we're on Slack all the time." And then I would reply, "Well, like, is there a way that you can systematically keep updated with that? Is there something that you can pull out of ClickUp or a dashboard or something?" And it's at that moment where the person's going to be like, "You know what? I think I could probably pull some reports every week or daily to just keep track of these clients." Right? Guess what? That's the answer that we wanted them to come up with, anyways. Says the owner, now we can start to probe and start asking them some more questions. It's like, I love that idea. I think that's exactly what we need. What do you think we should do if we identify that there are some clients that we're having some issues with? What do you think is the best way to track those individual ones? Because, like, those ones, in my opinion, you might disagree with me, but those ones need extra special care. What do you think we should do? And it's not going to take long for the head of to be like, "You know what? I could probably put those people on a list. Then I could probably report that every week." Then I'd be like, "My gosh, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you came up with that answer." Right? Now what happens when they've come up with the answer, even though we know what the answer was the whole time? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to have less ownership of the solution, or do you think they're going to have more ownership of the solution? Do you think they're going to be less committed to seeing this through or more committed to seeing this through? Of course, they're going to take more ownership. It's their solution. They're the ones who came up with this. They're the ones who believe that this is the answer. So your overall chances of success go way up because now this person says, "Oh man, I found the answer. I don't want to look dumb. I don't want to let my team members down. I'm going to make sure that this gets done. I'm going to fix this problem. I found the answer. I'm going to prove that I'm right. I'm going to make this shit happen." Right? That's exactly what we want. The person is completely empowered. They see the vision, they see how it plays into the bigger picture, so on and so forth. So the last part of this conversation after they've come up with a solution is you just got to be like, "Okay, now we got to come up with a deadline." right? Perfect. How long do you think it's going to take? And I'll support you every step of the way. Whatever you need, you let me know because this is such a big problem that we need to solve as a company. How long do you think it'll take for you to get the weekly report as well as that list that you came up with? I think you called it like the red zone list. How long will it take you to get that in place? Well, I can pull the dashboard and start creating that probably by the end of the week and then have the red zone list by the week after that. So let's just say 2 weeks, everything's fully in place. Perfect. So let's just call it next 2 weeks from now, Friday the 24th. Perfect. All right. So let's check up on that. Again, if you need anything to help you get this done, let me know because it's super, super important to us and the company. Any resources you need, or if you need my help, you want me to look at anything, just let me know. I'm here to support you. So I cannot wait to do this. And again, thank you so much. I knew you were the right person to come up with this answer. And that's that last part of the sandwich. And now we wrap up the meeting. And now that person, that leader leaves that meeting, feels so good about themselves. They're excited. They've got a mission, like they're ready to kick ass and take names. That's exactly how you want your meetings to go with those types of folks. They're a little bit stubborn and they are very passionate about their answers and they don't necessarily like just being told what to do. This is how you have to handle those types of folks. And keep in mind, I just want to remind you that you need those types of people around you. You cannot have your company leadership team built with just yes men and yes women. Because if you do, then you're only going to be seeing part of the problems that are going on. And you're not going to be getting a wide array of solutions. And you're going to be missing out a lot on innovative solutions that are going to help push your company to the next level. Like if you're the type of leader where you need to be the man or the woman and you just want everybody to just shut up and do what they're told, go ahead. Surround yourself with those yes men and yes women, right? See how that goes. You'll feel good about yourself most of the time until the company starts breaking and nobody can come up with a solution and you can't go on vacation because everything revolves around you, right? If that's the type of lifestyle you want, by all means, staff your entire company with yes men. If you want a leadership team that takes action, that comes up with solutions, that doesn't come to you with every little thing, you're going to have to deal with those stubborn personalities from time to time. It's not all the time. There's going to be instances where you have to deal with this, and you can't just go around firing everybody like a toddler. So you need to start developing this skill. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, reach out to us, or you can reach out to me. And happy to try and give you some advice. Hit us up on social media. That's probably the best way that I can get back to you. Leave us a comment on the post. I can respond that way as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode and I will see you on another one. Hey, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the podcast and also share it with friends, family, and basically anyone you know who will find the same value in this episode as you do. So to get the latest from me, then let's connect on social media on the Facebooks at facebook.com/dude agency or Instagram at dudeagency.io. Then you can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and even TikTok. Yes, I'm that cool. We are on TikTok. Finally, go to our website at dudeagency.io where you can see all of our other episodes of Operation Agency Freedom. Register for live trainings on how to run a highly profitable agency, and you can see exactly how we help marketing agencies fix their operations and scale to 8 figures and beyond. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time.